Hey everyone, in today's video I just want to talk about how I prep for filming weddings and sort of like my thought process of it all, and just give you guys my tips. So if you haven't already, please like and subscribe to my channel. My name's Nick, wedding filmmaker, but I also run a video production company as well. So 50% of my business is weddings, the other 50% is sort of corporate work and like promotional videos. But I mainly give tips about wedding videography. So when I have a wedding to film, usually the day before, the first thing I do is charge up all my camera batteries. So that's for my A camera, which I'm filming on now. So that's my Canon C200, and my B camera. And I usually have 2 batteries for each camera, and also my drone as well. So I've got the Phantom 4 Pro. So I make sure they're all charged up. Then I check, so whilst they're charging, I go through all my audio gear. And these are mainly run-off batteries. So I'll turn them all on, check the battery level, if they need replacing, which, to be honest, I usually about two weddings, and then I need to change the batteries. So yeah, so I put a fresh pair of batteries in, and also on my Zoom H5, I've got one of those USB like portable, you can charge your phone off them. Well, what I found out is this lasts, this plugs into the H5, and I get about 20 hours off a charge. So I make sure that's fully charged whilst I'm charging up my camera batteries as well. So once I'm happy with everything's fully charged, I make sure I turn on all my cameras and drones, and make sure I've formatted all my SD cards. So I don't have to worry about that on the day. Everything gets formatted straight away. And then I put my cameras into sort of the same settings. So I shoot at 24 frames per second. So I'll make sure both my cameras are filming on that. I sort of my white balance to daylight straight away. And then depending on the wedding venue, then I might make the adjustments there. But I get everything set how I need it. So once I've got all my camera settings correct, I then start packing everything away. So what I do is I take I only take one camera bag, and it's one of the Think Tanks. I'll put it in the description below. So I've got a few different bags, but this is what I take for weddings. So I have my one bag that I take, and in there I put my B cam, my Rode mic for that camera, and all my audio equipment and cables. That if you've seen one of my other channels, I talk about all my audio gear. So I go through all of that and get my spare batteries as well in the bag, and that usually fills up the bag quite nicely. Then I have my C200. So if I'm not filming obviously a YouTube video, I'll have this off my main tripod that I've got here. Have that next to, sitting over there in the corner of my room, with the rest of my equipment. Then I get my monopod for my camera, for my main camera, glide cam, and then I have my other tripod for my B cam. Then once I've got all that, I get my drone sorted out. So I will go do my operations manual for the venue that I'm about to film at. Do all the weather checks, NOTAM checks, and get that perfect. I have a little black book that I write down certain times of the day, and I just go through that. I go through the wedding contracts. I'll just double check all addresses, like what locations I need to be at, times. I'll go through my book that I've had meet when I've met them, all the details. I just run through all the times of the day and just make like shorter notes, all in like this nice little black book that I leave in my camera bag. Once I've got all that, print off the drone stuff. I always have in my drone bag, I have all my documentation for my business insurance, which shows my public liability, my drone insurance, my operations manual for the drone, my drone license, just in case I get to the venue and they ask to see any of it, which they never have actually. And sometimes you might have to, if you're filming in a church, you might have your PRS music licensing thing. I'll actually have that in my main camera bag because I never take the drone into the church. So I put that in my main camera bag because I have that with me once I attend. So that's me getting organised the day before, making sure everything's fully charged, everything, all my documentation's in order, and all my camera settings and cards are formatted. Once I've got all that, this is like one of my top tips I'm giving you here. I'll literally run through the day. So I'll go, right, I'll get to bride prep. So I've got my Canon C200, I've got my monopod, I've got my glide cam, I've got my H-Zoom 5. That's what I take to bride prep. And if I had to pop over to groom prep, it's the same equipment. Then I visualize in my head the ceremony. So again, I go, right, Canon C200, my main camera on my monopod. That's that. Got my glide cam for at the end when I usually walk back down the aisle. Then I open up the bag. I go, right, I've got my 2 Zoom F1 lapel mics. One goes on the groom. I've got my stickies to put that on him so it disguises, it covers up the microphone so you can't see any of the pictures or video. I've got my second one to put on the registrar. I've got my 3 Olympus mics that I dot around the room as backups, and I've got my Zoom H5 as a backup as well. So literally I visualize what I'm doing in the ceremony. So I'll be like, right, that goes on that table, but all of that. Have my B cam with the tripod and the microphone. As I said, this, I still put a microphone on that as like a backup of a backup of a backup. If I had to use that audio, I mean, there'll be a lot of post-production work on it. Wouldn't be great, but it's still a backup of a backup of a backup. So again, I visualize where that might be. So I might have that at the back of the ceremony. And once I know I've visualized how I film everything, I know I've got all the equipment there. And then I think, right, back at the venue, got my drone to get the drone shots. Straight back on the C200 with the glide cam and monopod, sort of alternate between that for the rest of the day. Got my B cam again with the tripod for the speeches, and all my audio equipment again for the speeches. So this is all the day before of the wedding. You know, I don't want to have to worry about this in the morning. Sometimes you're getting up quite early. So once I've got all my filming equipment, I'll take it downstairs and put it by the front door. And again, just because I'm quite paranoid, once I've got all my equipment down at the door, I usually open up the bag and go and visualize it all again and go, right, there's my B cam, all my audio equipment, backup SD cards, check my camera again. I make sure all the SD cards are in there, check my battery levels. That's why I love these batteries on these on the cinema cameras, because you just, with a click of a button, you can see the percentage. And I know I've got that. I also take in just a rucksack my chargers for both my A cam and B cam. Very rarely do I ever charge them, so they usually just end up in the car. But I take them because you don't have to be worrying about if your camera's battery's going to die. And if I've got a wedding the next day, which in a few months I have, I've got a double header, I'll charge up a lot of my equipment at the venue, so I don't have to worry about it when I get in for the next day. We'll get in that night to charge up for the next day. So that usually just sits in the car. So once I've got everything packed, all downstairs, I leave it to one side so that in the morning I know all of that just goes in the car. Then so that's all the filming equipment. Then I visualize the rest of the day. So I think, right, food. So you might have seen my video I did last week about mentioning I take an ice cooler box. So I make sure I've got enough ice in the freezer. And I prep all my food, or go to Tesco's and buy a meal deal. I've got that in the fridge. Got plenty of water. I usually take an ice cold water as well. So I leave the cool box out in the kitchen as well. So in the morning, I literally put the bag of ice in the cooler box, get all my food and snacks and drinks, and that literally stays cold for the whole day, for like the whole 12 hours. So you don't have to worry about your sandwiches going warm or a warm drink. You got it all there nice and cold. And again, that just stays in the car. And then I also make sure that my shoes are clean. I know what I'm wearing. So my trousers will be ironed, my shirt will be ironed. I've got my tie. I even get out my underwear and socks, just so in the morning everything is prepped. I've got 2 kids, so my mornings can be quite manic, and I'm there making sure I'm feeding my 3-year-old daughter. I might be changing a nappy on my 11-week-old baby. So I don't have to worry about what I'm wearing, all my equipment. I know that it's all good to go. And that's it really. That is how I prep. So a few things to remember. So it's prep the night before. Visualize when you're getting all your filming equipment together. Visualize the events that are going to happen in the day, and make sure you've got that piece of equipment for that certain event. So again, be like bride prep, taking that camera. Ceremony, right, I'm filming on a monopod on that camera, and that camera is going to be on a tripod somewhere else in the ceremony. So that is the best way, and you shouldn't forget anything then, because you'll be like, oh, I put a Zoom F1 on the groom and that's it. And then you might be, no, hang on, no, I put all my other mics on the tables and around the room as backups, and then you make sure you got all of them. And again, you want to check your camera settings. You don't have to worry about that on the day. Format all your SD cards. Make sure you've got your backups of your SD cards all ready. And just have everything ready to go the night before. So you're not stressing in the morning. You might have a little drive. I sometimes drive 2.5 hours on the day of the wedding. So sometimes that's getting up early. And I don't have to worry about that. So, if you haven't already, please like and subscribe to my channel. And if you did like this video and you found it useful, smash the like button for me. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.